Hey guys, Eric Corner here, BPIsecurity.com weekly announcement. Today's weekly announcement is an announcement and a question all in one. I received a question from a colleague in the industry that he received from someone regarding what is it that you ask a client when you have that one meeting with them in order to broach some type of agreement with them or to manifest a relationship with them. Now, the way I'm going to answer this question is that you have done all the front work. You've emailed, sent a bio, sent company snapshots to this client, and they've decided, okay, I want to hear what you have to say. This is not a question I'm going to answer based on the fact that they have come to you on a recommendation. Recommendations are handled totally different, but this is the one that you've solicited the meeting and then they've called you in. Number one, first and foremost, I can't reiterate this enough, be early. Be early. If one thing will go against you is if you show up to a meeting that you've called, asked for, and you're late. It's not a good sign. It's not a good start. Number two, make sure you know what you're talking about. Whatever you decide you're going to talk about that day, be prepped on that. Now, that being said, there may be some questions asked in that meeting that you're not prepared for, but you need to know your business. And if you're not equipped to answer every question honestly, efficiently, and effectively, there's no sense even going. There's no sense even asking for the meeting. So you get into the meeting. First thing you need to realize, under most cases, it's not going to be the CEO you're going to be sitting with. It's going to be some doppelganger of his, whether it's going to be the HR person, an executive assistant, or maybe a vice president if you're lucky. So understand that. So your work is going to be more uphill because at the end of that meeting, you want to make sure they'll be able to convey everything that you said to them to that CEO or to the decision makers that's going to ultimately make the decision yay or nay. What I like to do, and this is something that I learned years ago, is get the attention off of me when I go in there. So the first thing I want to do is not go in there and wave my flag up and down the meeting space and say, I'm this, I'm that. Ask them something like, when you think of executive protection, what does it mean to you? It gives you two things. Number one, you get a baseline idea of what it is they think executive protection is. So you can gear the first part of your conversation to explaining that. The second part about it is it gets the attention off of you and allows them to engage. It allows you to engage. The second question I would ask them or get to eventually is, what kind of security measures, if any, do you employ now? And the reason why I ask that is because most often, a lot of guys will get into these meetings and they'll start spewing, we need to put 5 guys here, 5 guys there. What I want to do is find out what they're doing right. Tell them, okay, you're doing that right, you're doing this right, this is where you may want to change something, and let them feel that you're there for them and not there to tell them they're doing everything wrong. That is an absolute turnoff. Here's something else you may want to consider. At the end of this meeting, obviously, you're not going to make suggestions that you haven't done an assessment on. So make sure you prep yourself for this client's base, any type of threats that are associated with the type of work they do. Be well versed in that. And at the end of the meeting, you may want to, and I highly suggest, do an assessment on that client at no cost. What that will do is, when you submit that assessment, it'll give them a baseline idea of how vulnerable they are. And the fact that you're not attaching a price to that shows the legitimacy in terms of how much you're looking forward to engaging in some type of relationship with them. Now, I know some of you guys are looking at me kind of crazy as far as doing work for free, but the truth of the matter is we all work for free at some level or another. So you may want to I'm not going to say take a hit on the front end, but you may want to consider that to give them something that they can sink their teeth in and be able to say, okay, well, yeah, we are kind of deficient here and deficient there. The other thing is, by giving it to them free, you're not price gouging them from the front end. And that's important because when you give them their assessment and recommendations, be mindful of the fact that only thing they're looking for at the end of the day is how many commas behind that dollar sign. Excuse me there. That's the bottom line. Your recommendations have to be succinct and cogent to whatever it is that you've done in that assessment. Outside of that, they're going to shut you down. Remember, when it comes to, at the end of the year, when they start auditing their books, the first person to go, or the first thing to go is normally security, because the first thing that says, we haven't had any issues, and we're paying for all this security. why are we paying for all this? We need to cut security. Well, the argument is the reason why nothing has happened is because we are here. Now, that being said, specific questions within that meeting with the client, I would not get into the personal lives of the client per se until you have established at least a secondary meeting with that client. You want to just have a general meeting with that client on the front end to establish a relationship, and hopefully you'll get that second call to come back in. Because when you part your ways and shake hands with whomever you met with, they are your messenger. And if you haven't been clear, succinct, and cogent in that meeting, they're going to misrepresent you to their boss or to the decision makers. So there is no magic questions to ask. Ultimately, you want to leave out of there with them with an understanding that you're going to do some type of assessment on them to give them something as proof in the pudding that they're doing something right. They need to augment this and augment that. Maybe you don't get any close-in protection out of it, but maybe you walk away as being their security consultant. That's better than nothing. And in most cases, that is a good thing, because every time they need security advice, they're coming to you. That is a value that you can't even put a price on. The trust that they have in you to call you every time they think that there's a security need. Now, the responsibility with that is that you have to always be looking after that client. I'm not saying physically looking at them, but watching what's going on in the news, current events, and if there's something that's coming down the pipeline or something along the skyline that may affect them, it is your responsibility to warn them, or to at least say, look, this is something we need to look at. Even if this meeting that you have with them doesn't mount to anything, and you both going your way, and they say, we decided we don't need anything, I would still shoot them emails based upon things that are going on in the current events that may affect them, because it shows that you still have an interest in helping them. So it will go a long way. So that's all I have to say today. I hope this helps whoever it was that sent the question to my colleague. If there's any specific parts of that meeting you want to ask me about, just shoot me an email and I'll answer them. But that's the best way to go about these meetings. Go in there with the whole idea of them listening to you, them not needing you more than you need them, but at the end of the day, it gives them something to think about. All right, remember, whenever you're in the detail, there are two protectees: the person behind you in the back right seat and your reputation. Either one get harmed or hurt, you're done.